What's going on? REKBCQ signing on for another episode of REK's Room. Today, we're returning to the world of Dragon Ball. Like in our previous excursions, we will be focusing on a character I introduced into the world, that being Fria. Fria is the reincarnation of one of the most beloved villains in the franchise, Lord Frieza. After the death of Mega Frieza, Goku wished for him to be reincarnated, in both timelines, I may add, like he did with Buu. As you may have noticed, Trunks is born soon after Mega Frieza died. That meant that Fria ended up being Trunks' twin. Yes, I know that sounds like a pretty cheesy OC, but I don't care. Anyways, this episode is going to retcon the last episode some. After reflecting on it, I decided I wasn't quite happy with how it played out. That's part of the reason why this episode has taken so long. But now we're here, so let's not worry about it. As a quick recap, we saw future Fria dealing with being rejected by her father. After Vegeta found out that she was Frieza's reincarnation, his hatred for Frieza resurfaced. After that, we saw future Trunks and present Bulma consoling Fria, letting her know that she was still the same person they know and love. It's at the Perfect Cell fight where I start changing things. After Fria was consoled, she encountered Imperfect Cell fighting Piccolo. I originally had it that Fria's stubbornness rubbed off on this Cell, leading to him staying in the fight and being killed. I don't think that would be the case anymore. As in the original, Cell uses the solar flare. Fria, however, is still too angry to let him go. Ever since Fria had got here, she had been paying attention to Cell's ki. As Cell was using the solar flare, he had not yet hidden it. In that vital moment, Fria launched at him blind. In that moment, she is able to grab him. Without a second thought, Fria pushes Cell's head into the ground, puts all her energy into a ki blast, and turns Cell's head into ashes. Piccolo, being aware of Cell's regeneration by this point, yells at the crew to blast him away, giving him no chance to heal. When the dust cleared, Cell was gone. With Cell killed and Fria out of energy, she drops to the floor exhausted. As Fria is given time to gather herself, the group decides what to do next. It's decided that Fria and Trunks go to the lab while the others will go find the androids. At the lab, Trunks and Fria would destroy the rest of it like they did in the original. Fria would also make sure to take the androids' blueprints. Over with everyone else, the Z-Fighters would find the androids at Kame House. As per usual, Piccolo and Android 17 would fight. Krillin would have gone to Kame House this time, leading to him talking up 18 and 16 as the others fought. Here we get more of the 18 and Krillin relationship, as well as 16 becoming friendly with Krillin as well. Since there is no Cell at this point, 17 just continues his fight with Piccolo. This leads to Fria showing up. Trunks was the one who brought the blueprints to Bulma, so Fria was the one to fly into the action. As you may expect, Fria is ready for battle. She lands near 18, 16, and Krillin, instantly going into a fighting stance. Before she, 18, or 16 can jump in, Krillin jumps in front of Fria. "Don't hurt 18! She's not our enemy!" Fria just looks at him, both angry and confused. Still being in a trigger-happy mood at this point, she pushes Krillin aside and prepares a ki blast. Krillin simply hops in front of it, refusing to move out of the way. Reluctantly, Fria backs down. "Krillin, what are you thinking?" "I learned more about 18 and 16 just now. Neither of them have any malintent. They're just trying to figure out what to do with their lives. They aren't like your androids. They can be different than what they were." Fria's still confused by this. "How can you have so much faith in them when you know what they're capable of? You used to be Frieza. You're not Frieza now. There were killers in your timeline. They haven't done anything yet here. Why should I treat them differently to you?" Fria stands there, contemplating what Krillin was saying. She looks at them all, seeing no aggression whatsoever. While Fria desperately wants to shoot 18 down where she stands, she stops herself. "Call off your brother." 18 looked at her in surprise. "What do you mean?" "If you truly don't have any malintent, then stop 17 from fighting Piccolo. If we're all friends now, you three should have no reason to fight." 18 looked at Fria and simply said, "Fair enough." 18 called out to 17, while Krillin did the same for Piccolo. They signaled both of them to stop fighting. While the two do stop fighting, they keep a sharp eye on each other as they fly down to everyone else. Later on, Trunks flies back with the remote control. This control is of course the same one that was meant to kill the androids in the original. Initially, Trunks had intended to hit the button as soon as he was in range of them. However, he stopped when he noticed what the androids were doing. They were talking with everyone else, even Fria. Not Piccolo, though. He's not one for pleasantries. Trunks flies down to them, eyes locked on the androids. "What exactly are you all doing?" Krillin simply looks at Trunks and says, "Talking about animals. Apparently 17 is interested in becoming a park ranger." Trunks looked back in confusion. Fria got up and walked to her brother. "What's in your hand?" "It's a remote Mom made. It's supposed to detonate the bombs inside of the androids." The androids hear this and immediately go to swipe the remote. Fria simply asks, "Can I see that?" Trunks obliges, handing over the remote. Fria takes it, throws it on the ground, and stomps it to bits. "We're friends now. I'll explain later." Trunks, bewildered, just says, "You confuse me, Fria." From this point, the crew heads over to Capsule Corp. It's agreed upon that Bulma will extract the bombs from the androids. While she's at it, she does take the opportunity to remove the desire to kill Goku from their programming. After this, Fria and Trunks ended up meeting with Goku, Piccolo, Gohan, and Vegeta. While this whole android ordeal ended, Goku took the opportunity to nab Dende as the new Guardian of Earth. Despite not having a clear villain to fight at the moment, Fria and Trunks still need to get stronger for the androids. Popo offers them the option to use the time chamber. Initially, Fria and Trunks intended to go in there together, but Vegeta stops them before they can go in. "Wait, I'm going to train with the girl." Of course, this catches everyone off guard. Trunks immediately speaks up. He isn't about to let that happen. From what he's seen of Vegeta, he doesn't even deserve to interact with his sister. As Trunks says this, Fria makes him back down. "Fine. I'd love to trounce you." "That confident? Big talk for a knockoff." "I'd like to think of it as a free upgrade." With that interesting interaction, they head into the time chamber. As they enter, Fria looks at Vegeta and says, "What's your ankle?" Vegeta shrugs. "You'll see." Once they're settled in, it doesn't take long before the two spar. Starting in base form, the two are trading blow for blow. They both want to go all out, but they hold off. The training goes on like this for about a week, always ending things off before a true winner could be decided. It's after that week when Vegeta begins to push further. Without warning, Vegeta becomes more aggressive with his fighting. She thinks she'll just up the ante herself and get the upper hand. This isn't what happens. As the fight goes on, the gap in power becomes more and more apparent. Even when they both reach full power, Vegeta is far ahead. He begins to ruthlessly beat into Fria. It becomes clear that he's taking out all his anger on Fria. All the years he spent under Frieza's boot heel. It all culminates in him attacking Fria with all his might. After retreating for a second, Fria asks him how he got this powerful. "Oh, this wasn't out of nowhere. While you were busy being a crybaby, I was doing some real fighting. I'm not where I was the last time we fought." If it isn't clear by now, this came about after Vegeta fought 18. That fight, which Fria wasn't there for, granted him a large Zenkai. Fria didn't get the same power boost, so that put Vegeta far ahead. That's what he's been banking on. "You've been hiding this power this whole time?" Vegeta nods with his signature cocky smile. "Exactly. This has been nothing but a game. You are insignificant. You may be him, but we left him in the dust a long time ago. That little origin story of yours means nothing. You're a poor man's imitation of both him and me." Fria scowls at Vegeta. This was the last straw. She was sick of her father's constant berating. He hadn't even taken a second to even acknowledge her. He decided who she was as soon as he found out where she came from. She was sick of this. Seething with anger, she was narrowly focused on making Vegeta feel the same pain she was feeling. She began to transform. However, this wasn't her normal Super Saiyan. Instead of the yellow and light purple of her normal Super Saiyan form, It became a glowing, uniform purple. Her eyes lightened to a shade of magenta. Her power erupted. The band that kept her hair in a ponytail broke off, letting her hair fly out with 2 sharp streaks falling down either shoulder. Lightning began surrounding her as her gaze focused solely on Vegeta. Her power had spiked far beyond any power she had felt before. She wasn't a normal Super Saiyan anymore. She had ascended to Super Saiyan 2. With her new power, Fria beat into Vegeta relentlessly. Each blow got stronger and stronger. Her strikes only became stronger as she went, her body becoming more accustomed to using the form. Vegeta was powerless to stop her as she put him in his place. Fria fires a thin beam through each of Vegeta's limbs, disabling him completely. She walks up to him and grabs him by the collar, pulling him up to her face. With malice in her voice, Fria says to him, "What did you say about being a poor man's imitation?" Fria throws Vegeta to the ground, the prince coughing blood as he hits the floor. With Vegeta now battered and bruised, Fria powers down. Calmly, she walks towards their food supply, grabs a sensu bean, and throws it to Vegeta. "You better take advantage of that Zenkai. You're gonna need it to catch up with me." From then on, the tables turned considerably. As Fria began to hone her Super Saiyan 2 power, Vegeta scrambled to catch up. Fria, now having taken out most of her anger on Vegeta in that first bout, was kind enough not to completely beat Vegeta senseless each time. Honestly, she felt a little guilty about the whole ordeal. While she wanted to show Vegeta up, she felt like Frieza's ruthlessness had taken over at that point. Despite what you would think, training went smoother after that. Having been humbled, Vegeta became more subdued. This actually led to the father and daughter actually talking. Fria explained her past in more detail, telling Vegeta about how grim her upbringing was. Surprisingly, that's where she found some common ground with the prince. After a lot of prying, Fria got Vegeta to open up about his past. How his home and family had been destroyed, his poor treatment under Frieza, all the awful things he had done, as well as the horrible things he'd experienced. With this confession, Fria actually began to understand Vegeta more. She felt bad for him, and while his actions still weren't justified, Fria began to understand why Vegeta was so bitter. After all this, their sparring sessions not only became more civil, but their gains improved as well. Believe it or not, Fria actually started joking with Vegeta. Vegeta would never respond, but Fria would get the occasional grimace from him. When the year was finally over, both Vegeta and Fria were significantly stronger. Vegeta was even able to achieve Super Saiyan 2 himself. His version, of course, looked like it did in the original. Fria was still ahead of Vegeta at this point. Walking out of the chamber the next day, well, for everyone else that is, the rest of the crew were baffled by the increase in strength in both Vegeta and Fria, even in base form. Trunks was shocked to see Fria just by how she looked. Fria had cut her hair down to her shoulders. With her hairband having been destroyed, it was really hard to fight with her hair that length. Apparently, she wasn't able to handle it like Raditz did. Trunks began to make fun of her, to which she just laughed along with him. Before anyone else could head in the time chamber, Fria showed off her new power to the group. She assured them that they could reach this power too. Vegeta ended up going in for another year to train with Trunks. Luckily for Trunks, Vegeta isn't as much of a jerk to him as he was in the original, and he gets some bonding time in as well. Goku ends up going into the time chamber with Gohan, and Gohan even goes in for a second round so Piccolo can get a turn. At this point, all the Saiyans have reached Super Saiyan 2. For the fun of it, I'll give you a power ranking from strongest to weakest. With multiple years in the time chamber, Vegeta ends up at number 1. Fria is number 2, with Gohan following very close behind at number 3. Since Goku got less training time, he was at number 4. Trunks ended up being in 5th place, and Piccolo ended up last. Sorry Piccolo, but that Super Saiyan power is hard to beat. With everyone now powered up, Fria and Trunks get ready to head back to the future. All the crew meets them at Capsule Corp and everyone starts saying their goodbyes. Fria makes a point to give Gohan a special request. She asks him to keep training and to take care of her and Trunks. Gohan eagerly agrees, not wanting to let Fria down. Lastly, as the two time travelers begin to hop into the time machine, Vegeta stops the two of them. He stands in front of them, grabbing each of their shoulders. He looks in their eyes, tightens his grip, and nods. While Trunks just nods back, Fria has more of a softer side than you would expect. She gives Vegeta a tight hug. While Vegeta doesn't hug back, he looks away from them, blushing. Once Fria and Trunks get back to their timeline, they do not waste any time. They immediately fly away to find the androids. They see 17 and 18 attacking an old man in the wastes of the city. 17 turns toward them and says, "Back for another beat!" Freya powers up to Super Saiyan 2 and blasts them both into smithereens. Trunks looks at her wide-eyed. "What? I'm done talking at this point." Skipping over to the Cell bit, the two Saiyan hybrids lure him out as Trunks did in the original. As she did with the other androids, Freya immediately goes to destroy Cell. This time, she does let Trunks join in, since he was annoyed he didn't get to take out either of the other androids. With the present and the future now saved, this is where we end off our episode. What did you guys think of the end of this arc? Did it wrap up in a satisfying manner? How do you think the Saiyan's power boost will affect the next arc? How do you like Fria's version of Super Saiyan 2? Will I stop asking questions? Let me know in the comments below. I tried my best to make this the best episode yet, so I hope you enjoyed it. Now, before we end this off, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more videos coming up. Symes and I have been coming up with ideas for new videos, so we got some good stuff ready for you in the future. Thank you so much for watching. This is REKC, signing off.